guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Corrine. Welcome. If you guys are new, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button right down below. So today I wanted to do a third trimester update. It could come at any minute. So I'm 36 weeks, a little bump date. So my left side is always not as big as my right side. Do you agree or no? She's always over here, so that's why. That is a belly. Now that I forced you to stare at my body with me, let's do this thing. I couldn't tell you the last time I worked out. Sorry, not sorry. That was one thing I really thought I was gonna try to be all fit and pregnant. Like, it's been survival mode, so sorry. Sorry. Cottage cheese butt. Here we go. Like, whatever. Things I love right now are, I still take baths, but now my hormones make me hot, so I don't stay in for as long as I used to. Sonic happy hour. If I've treated myself to a lot of water, which I always do, I'm always chugging, but if I've been really good that day, I will get a big old cherry limeade. If I want coffee, I only have decaf because the caffeine literally rips my stomach apart. Normally, I am lactose intolerant, but for some reason, I'm able to have the Chick-fil-A, what is it, ice dream, and it doesn't hurt my stomach. So that has been on my mind. I'm either really constipated or I'm pooping my pants. Asparagus, like I always want it with dinner. That's so random. I feel like I really just want to eat like yummy stuff, but I don't want to make it. But oh gosh, ooh, that's another thing. I'm so glad she did that. Lightning crotch. That's been a lot. I'm so glad she just did that. Lightning crotch. Where it literally feels like lightning bolt. Zing! That's been something. There's days where it's not that bad, and there's days where I'm like, oh my gosh. There's a lightning storm in my pants. Sleep. I went through a really weird insomnia phase in the beginning of the third trimester. I would get up at 2 or 3 to pee, and then I wouldn't go back to sleep. That sucked. And I've heard it's just your body getting ready for the baby. It's so crazy. It got better, but now I'm so big that it hurts. It hurts to sleep because when you like toss over and then you toss over, like I'm definitely at that point where I'm like, I'm ready to not be pregnant, but it's just scary, like what's to come. I just want her here, and I just want to hold her. I just want to see what she looks like. I just want to see what she looks like. That's all I want. It has been a whirlwind. Thank you guys so much for I meant to say this in a previous video, and I feel bad for not saying it, but you guys, your support was so great on that second trimester update when I got emotional. And you know, it's been a tough pregnancy. It really has, and I feel like everyone was just so sweet, and I got so many texts and messages about everyone just saying that they just understand and that, you know, to just be encouraged. So I just wanted to thank everyone who was so nice and supportive, and that meant so much to me. Yes, this is a journey. I've started making content for this, and I appreciate everyone who watches it. My husband and I moved. We are here in Georgia. He got stationed back at Fort Benning. We lived here 2.5 years ago, so it felt kind of good to come back to a familiar area, and we really love it. We love our house. We moved in about a month ago now, and so I guess that's where I'll leave off from. Whew. This belly. I have to pee. I'll be right back. So I'm not sure if I talked about in my previous update about us getting some weird information about Norah's head to femur ratio. So at the anatomy scan at 20 weeks told us everything was fine. Multiple midwives and doctors told us that, and then one time at I think 27 weeks, you know, we're military. We go on post, and we're very thankful for our healthcare, but it's frustrating every time you go. I'm sure other places are like this too, but every time you go to the doctor for appointments, you're literally seeing someone different, and it's very frustrating. And I normally didn't mind it until this point. I have respect for all midwives, all nurses, all doctors, but I just feel like your pregnancy, you want to have consistency. So this woman this midwife just started saying like, everything looks great. I was looking at your charts. Everything looks great. However, and I literally swear that she paused for like 10 minutes, even though it probably was only like 10 seconds. Me and Mike were like, what the heck is she about to say? My heart was like skipping out of my chest. And then she talked about how her head to femur ratio was so below percentile, like blah, 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 made it this huge deal. We had to go back for another ultrasound. It was very scary because of just the way that she delivered that information without giving any background information. And I was just like, hold up. I am not someone with a medical background, neither is my husband. You have to, if you're gonna drop a bomb like that on us, like you have to explain yourself. And then I went back after the ultrasound because, you know, the tech can't really tell you anything. So this is my last appointment before we moved, and I saw a doctor who actually saw me at labor and delivery one time, and he was really nice, and he didn't even bring it up. And I was like, so is everything okay? And he was like, what are you talking about? And then we told him the whole story. I even feel like I'm blabbering now, but basically he was like, oh, and then he looked at the original measurements that she was addressing, and he was like, I wouldn't have even brought that to your attention because everything looks fine. Me and Mike were like, oh my gosh. So anyways, that was one thing. And I give that information because then we moved here and had a similar situation. So basically we moved here. I had to drive my car with all my stuff. Mike was driving the U-Haul, and both of our parents, praise God, met us in Georgia to help us move in. And that was its own thing. Like moving, military moves are very stressful. We were really wanting the Army to move us. It didn't work out that way because this Ranger process is very quick, and we were banking on the Army moving us. It didn't work out. We were waiting on orders. They came last minute. It was a very stressful situation. So going through that was very, 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 very stressful. We had to move ourselves. I packed everything up myself, pushing myself physically, which I shouldn't have done. I wasn't loading things up, but when you're packing your whole house yourself, it's a lot of work. With friends, they loaded everything up on the truck. That moving day was the worst day. I just remember feeling like she's coming out. She's gonna come out of me. Like my pelvic pressure was out of this world. I totally overdid it. It was just horrible. I just remember just feeling like this is horrible. All my stops, it was probably like a 7.5 hour drive. I just remember crying in the car being like, I feel like she's coming. Like I feel like the pressure in my body is way too much. And it's because I 100% overdid it physically, and then I'm having to drive, and I'm just thankful it wasn't a 17-hour car ride. But you guys, it was horrible. And I did start vlogging to make like a moving vlog, like, and it just did not work because it was just too much. Like I was a mess. And then we get here, and I just can't thank our parents enough. Like my parents drove from North Carolina, and then his parents drove from Florida, and we moved on a Friday, and they literally had us moved in everything in our house. Everything was in the house that night, and then my mom and my mother-in-law literally packed away the kitchen, did everything in our closet, like all the little things were everywhere, and like the guys were doing like the furniture and everything. I mean, they literally had us moved in, and I sat there because I could not move. I could not move. Can't describe it. And I never want to come off that I'm like complaining, because I know other people have it worse too, but I'm just saying, like, this has not been a hunky-dory pregnancy, and I'm not complaining. I'm very thankful for this baby girl inside me. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to be real with you guys, because it just got out of, like, I couldn't even go to the bathroom without feeling like she was gonna fall out in the toilet. Like, my body was done. The pressure was horrible. The pain, like I just soaked in baths because I didn't know what else to do. So my mom was like, you sit there, you tell us where you want things to go. And we're just so thankful for all that help, because I don't know what we would have done. It was just such a blessing. So about a week later, we had our first appointment, and now I'm 30 weeks pregnant at this time. And you know, it's just kind of like, I'm expecting to just go to the hospital, be like, hi, this is me. I'm 30 weeks pregnant, transferring to this hospital, make sure my baby's heart rate's good, and then leave. Literally was like, this is probably gonna be that. And then I had a midwife that day, and it was literally like deja vu. Mike was with me, thank the Lord. He was like, so I was going over everything on your chart and I wanted to know if anyone has talked to you about your cervix. And I was like, no. She's like, okay, well, and then I was like, here we go again. And I literally started to like clench my fist. Like I started to get upset because I'm like, if someone is about to tell me false information again, I'm gonna lose my you-know-what. I'm just like, what is she about to tell me? So she was saying that your cervix is way too short. And she started giving numbers and measurements and stuff like that. She was saying it was like 0.03 something, like it was like so short to where like I had to be bedridden, and I am now at risk for preterm labor. And like she couldn't believe that no one had told me this before. And I'm like, and she said there's or a little procedure or a device that could either be put up in me or something could happen, I think at 20 weeks, around a certain time frame, that could help this problem. But I'm way past that and there's nothing that can be done anymore. And she just couldn't believe that at my previous hospital, like no one talked about it to me. And I was like, why is this happening? Why am I constantly not being taken care of? Why is, I just felt like no one was taking care of me as far as like people not delivering correct information. And it was really scary. It was a scary day. So basically, this was a huge deal, and they did a bunch of tests on me and a bunch of very painful cervical exams. That was hard for Mike to be there in the room because also at the time I didn't know it, but I had a UTI, so them going in with, you know, like the vaginal gun to swab and stuff literally felt like a pole shoved up my body. And I was sitting there crying and making the worst faces, and we think we're just going in for a normal appointment, and then all this happens and I'm white knuckling, like I feel like I'm dying. Mike's sitting there and he's helpless, and it was just horrible. It was so horrible. Like, okay, put your pants back on and then we're gonna take you to fetal monitoring. And at that point I'm sobbing, trying to put my pants on and like clean myself up, and Mike's sitting there white as a ghost. He looked like he took like white toothpaste and just rubbed it all over his face and his mouth. They start to escort me to fetal monitoring, and I lost Mike. I lost him at some point. Bless his heart, he literally had to go get air because he almost passed out. He just like couldn't even handle it. I'm just like, I'm in my zone. I'm like, I gotta do my own thing, you do yours, like whatever. So then we go to the fetal monitoring room, and praise God for this RN. She was the sweetest woman. She was just so kind to me, and she was definitely just a blessing from God, because I just needed someone to just like kind of hold my hand and be like, baby's okay, you're okay, mama. You know, like I needed that, and she did that with me. But I was there for about an hour. They watched Norah. They had me hooked up to all the monitors, and then they did ultrasounds and all this stuff. So anyways, the next day, I sound like such a problem child, but this is just what has happened. I was having really bad back pains and menstrual cramping. And this is what's hard too about pregnancy. If it's your first one, you don't know what's normal. You don't know when it's time to go. And they had just told me like all these symptoms of preterm labor. So one of the main symptoms of preterm labor was menstrual cramps, and I was having menstrual cramps. I just felt really uneasy about it. And I was just like, and it was the morning, and Mike was like, should we go? Like he was really worried about me. I'm like, let me just listen to my body. Like, I don't know. And then later on that day, I was like, let's just go. The worst they can do is send me home. Like, let's just go. We went. Luckily, labor and delivery was very slow, and the nurses were so nice, and they monitored, you know, they put the contraction monitor on your belly and then the heart rate belly for Norah. I had just a few contractions. It was nothing crazy. The midwife that saw me the day before, she was on the labor and delivery floor. Came in and she started talking to us. She was like, I'm so glad you're here. There is a physician here that I want her to get a second opinion on what we went over yesterday. There was like this guy that was like I don't know the correct term, but like a resident student or something. So, you know, my legs were just wide open, and I was a little science experiment that day. But I just didn't care. But that doctor, she was this doctor, and she was so awesome. So basically, they come in and talk about the whole cervix thing. They're like, they didn't talk to you about it at all? And I was like, no. So she was like, and you know, all those painful exams happened the day before. So I'm sitting there thinking like, the last thing I want you to do is do any exams on me. It's making me tear up because it was so painful and my body just felt like I can't do anymore. But she was so kind. She's like, we are gonna have to, if you're okay with it, we want to go in and just make sure everything, like just double check that these measurements and just see where your cervix is at, and just I would just feel so much more comfortable if we took a look. And I was like, okay. So they did more of the, you know, pap smearish exams. It felt horrible, and it's now because I later found out that I had a UTI, and so that's why all this was so painful. The doctor said, okay, now I'm gonna do a vaginal ultrasound just to see where your cervix is at and everything. And I'm like, okay. And that was fine. And right away she saw Norah's head and my cervix, and she said, you are fine. She said, I don't know what has happened, but these measurements are wrong. She was saying that's why we were so concerned, because the way that they were saying your cervix was measured, you would have had her within the week or two. And that's why it was so scary. I'm so thankful that she checked, and she just kept checking and kept reassuring me that my cervix is fine and it's the right length. And what's crazy is the day before at the doctor, went through all that, you know, I forgot to mention this. I told them that we were planning on leaving in a week, but my baby shower in North Carolina was coming up. I remember being worried about not being able to go, and they told me that I couldn't travel anywhere. So me, my mom, and my mother-in-law had to call all these people, tell them the baby shower was off. I was such a mess because I was, you know, all you think about is like having this baby shower and getting your family and friends together, celebrating this big deal. And oh, I was such a mess. I was crying nonstop. So that was really hard. And then, you know, to go to the hospital the next day and then her tell me that everything was fine and that they were so glad that they looked. And what they think happened was one of the ultrasound techs, they used these like microphone things to transcript the report, and they think it was just a typo. The most frustrating thing though is like, I've seen so many people at that point, 10 weeks, someone had to have seen that measurement. So why is it taking this hospital, who's their first time seeing me, is the first time that this is being brought up? It's just been crazy. And it's just been a lot of like relying on God and emotionally draining. Yeah, it's just been a lot. Great feeling getting that green light of you're good, your cervix is good, you can go to your baby shower. Yeah. But you know what, all this aside, my baby is healthy and I really can't complain because I'm so thankful. She is doing good. She is a kicker. I mean, constantly, you guys, she's doing gymnastics in my belly, like takes the breath out of me. I'm just so thankful. The Lord has just blessed us with her and her health, and I'm just praying it continues. The only other crazy thing that's happened is if you've watched my hospital bag, I talked about it, but we had to go last week. It's a very long story. I'll just keep it short. I had a migraine, and I literally feel like this video is just complain, but I promise it's not. It's just me telling you how my pregnancy has been, because that's how I feel, and I don't like complaining. I like to be positive and encourage people, but this is just this is my personal update. So anyways, last week I was 35 weeks, and we had just gotten back from Savannah from seeing my best friend and her new baby and her family. That next Monday I had a horrible migraine, which I do get, but I literally threw up 12 times. That made me dehydrated. I was already having menstrual cramping that day, so I was already kind of like, I don't like this. And then all of that happened, and then the regular contractions started. That's why this hospital bag video is so funny, because we literally hadn't have a bag yet. We threw everything that we just thought we needed in a bag, and that was it. So get there. I've never felt so sick in my whole life. We check in and the guy was like, it's a real busy night tonight, because there's only 5 labor and delivery rooms. And he's like, it's really busy. I'm like, well, it's not a restaurant. It's not like I can go from Cheddar's to Chili's and just try something else. Like, this baby is coming. In my mind, I thought she was. Like, I legit thought she was coming. So we waited and they got us in triage, hooked me up, and Mike could see my contractions on the monitor. And I was having contractions pretty regular. Going like this. So they weren't like, you know, crazy. So I was like, I feel like we're having her tonight, but like I also don't. Basically, they hooked me up to an IV because of how dehydrated I was. Still really nauseous. I couldn't keep water down. I couldn't keep food down or ginger ale or anything. They hooked me up. We were there from like 10 to like 2:30 in the morning. So it was a hot mess. Me medicine, and they did, the doctor did check me. That was really painful. I feel like no one tells you that these things are painful. You think like, oh, they're just gonna swap around and like feel. No, like, holy crap, he got his arm in there and like checked, and I was like, holy crap. But he was like, her head's really low, but you're not dilated. And so he was comfortable sending me home. My contractions stopped. Then we get home and Mike started throwing up too at 4 in the morning. So it was actually a stomach bug that I had. And that's why I was so dehydrated and I couldn't keep anything down. So I'm so glad we went because we needed to keep Norah safe. And I'm glad I did so I could get that IV. But then Mike was sick. So literally that day, it was like, we felt like death and that we were in prison here. It was horrible, but we're both better. But now approaching labor, you know, it's scary and exciting, but it's kind of like I'm just trying to remind myself like my body was made to do this. I was made to do this. God has a plan for me. He has a plan for Norah. And all these little obstacles that have happened, you know, I feel like it's really just really prepared me and Mike for labor. It's made him stronger because he's had to see me go through so much. That is all I can think of for this 3rd trimester update, and I can't believe that it's already time to be posting this. I'm not sure what our plans are for filming with her coming and labor and stuff, but I'm sure we'll have some footage and we'll just have to see. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I love seeing all your comments and hearing about your stories too. So comment down below, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.